So just for the listener, let's just quickly go through when somebody is terminated, the tests for an unfair dismissal. We're sitting in court. What are the tests?
Well, the Commission's looking for two things. It's looking to see whether you had a valid reason for termination. That's always the first thing. Is there a valid reason connected to their performance or their conduct? Is there some kind of misconduct? So you can't have a capricious, what they call a fanciful reason. It has to be a substantive reason. Once we have that, the next thing that the Commission's going to look for is whether there was procedural fairness, if broadly call it that, associated with the dismissal. Did the employee have an opportunity to respond? Did they have an opportunity to prove that they could rectify their performance? Were they given a fair go in terms of having not only the chance to improve, but also having input into the decision-making process? That's what the Commission's looking for. Now, in a performance-based context, that doesn't mean every employee needs three warnings or 3 written warnings or any kind of specified number. In my view, and certainly the approach the Commission, the Fair Work Commission's taken in Australia, is what we're really looking for is an employee to be put on notice that their performance is not appropriate, is not meeting the requisite standard, and being given a reasonable opportunity to improve that performance. And often the question that arises is, well, what's a reasonable opportunity? That depends on the circumstances. Yeah. In some, you might need to give someone 8 weeks to improve their performance. But if you've got someone on a call centre who has very strict KPIs, it may be that 3 weeks is sufficient because of the very objective nature of the figures they need to meet. It'll depend on the circumstances, but you'd at least want them to be clearly put on notice and have a fair opportunity to prove that they can improve. And I prefer then to almost look at a final written warning before moving on, but it'll depend on the context.
And there's probably a really important piece there, coming back to the performance culture issue as well, and that's this. If you do actually end up with people in your business who aren't performing well, more often than not, the people who understand they're not performing well are their work colleagues. And in my experience, those people will start to get frustrated if you're not dealing with that. And if you're not careful and you leave underperformers in your business too long, people will turn around and go, well, hang on a minute, I'm working really hard, I'm engaged with the business, but Bob's allowed to come in late, he's allowed to work less than I'm working. Why am I trying so hard? So you've really got to make sure that you are procedurally sound, but I think you've got to also make sure that you put the broader performance of the business in your mind, particularly if you're a line manager or an HR manager, to make sure that we're addressing underperformances promptly.